Maybe you want to host a retreat, but you're really kind of nervous about COVID and keeping everybody safe. Today I'm going to talk to you about my experience attending a large event in the middle of a pandemic. Hi y'all, I'm Jamie and welcome to my channel. This is the one-stop shop for all event planning needs for businesses, coaches, creators, and entrepreneurs. I know it sounds really crazy that I attended a 700-person event in the middle of a pandemic. But hear me out. All of my business in 2020 was basically pushed to 2021. And throughout this entire process, we wanted to make sure that it was safe for people to meet again in person. One of the biggest companies in the hospitality event space puts on this giant reverse trade show called Connect Marketplace. And what it does is it brings all of the hotels, event planners, people looking to source events, all of the touch points and the networking that goes into planning events. And this year ended up being in October. Initially, it was supposed to be in Vegas, but the demand in the attendees list grew too big to safely or even like remotely meet the Las Vegas or Nevada event limitations. So they ended up moving it to Orlando, which was at the Marriott World Center, close to Disney. So let's kick off though this discussion with elephant in the room. What did they do for COVID? So before the event, they had a series of check-ins of this is the protocol that we're going to be following, that everyone has to follow. This is what to be expected once you get there and through each of the different stages of the events. As the city codes and ordinances changed, those guidelines were updated. So in our welcome packet, which normally you'd pick up on site, this year they mailed it to your house. However, they sent mine to the wrong address. I had to pick up everything once I got there. This is my original badge that I was able to receive after the fact. I don't have my event badge, but bear with me. So every morning before you entered the event space, you had to have your temperature checked, and then you had to also fill out a questionnaire on your phone that says like, I'm feeling okay today, I don't have any COVID symptoms. And then you fill that out, you sign it, because that's like their waiver, and then they took your temperature, and you would normally receive like a little dot that you'd stick on your badge to indicate that you've passed the screening or the daily check of the morning or whatever. Initially in the guidance, they told us that they would be checking us every time we entered the event space. So like at lunch or something, if we were to go off property or outside of that event area, we would have to get rescreened. Ultimately, that didn't end up happening. There was also COVID-19 warnings and disclaimers, posters, like literally around the event space, just for CYA of the event providers. Also, a mask mandate was required, honestly, everywhere we went. But they said, hey, you have to wear a mask, even if you're 6 feet apart. But what was really kind of cool is that a lot of the CVBs and the properties that you're meeting with were giving masks away. So like this is the mask I was given. It is cloth, it's double layer. Where that ended up being challenging was in the reverse trade show, where essentially it's like speed dating. I sat on one side of a 6-foot table and the property or the CVB sat on the other side of the 6-foot table. So if you could imagine 700 people in a grand ballroom in a hotel wearing masks, sitting 6 feet away, and the tables were 6 feet apart, but it was very challenging to hear people. The third thing that they did is they had box lunches. Prior to this event, I was actually like a huge cheerleader of box lunches. This is supposed to be like a red carpet event, and if your goal is to have it to be very exclusive and high ticket, box lunches and box food of any sort is not how you get there. Instead of having breakout sessions, which would normally happen in smaller rooms, they ended up having all of the different breakout sessions in the grand ballroom with the exhibitors. Had 4 different sections, and each section had chairs that were 6 feet apart. And then they did something really kind of cool though. Have you guys seen silent discos, where everyone has like headphones on but you can't hear the music unless you have the headphones on? That's what they did for each of the 4 sections. The headphones were tuned to the speakers and the microphones of that section. So that's kind of what the conference did to protect us. Just a summary, they gave out guidance, they required temperature checks and health screenings every day. Masks were required even at 6 feet away. They gave us box lunches. They had 6-foot long tables and chairs spaced 6 feet to encourage social distancing. So now to move on to the evaluation of the meeting setup itself. Like I mentioned, this meeting or this event is a reverse trade show. It's kind of like speed dating, where I have 3 to 4 minutes with each property or CVB to discuss my events that I'm sourcing and the opportunities in that city or at that property. So with masks and a lot of noise, it was really challenging to hear everybody. It was great for safety, but it made it super hard to communicate effectively. And given the small amount of time, you really had to talk fast and talk quickly and talk loud. And honestly, I needed an extra like 10 minutes with each person I was talking to. It was really hard. It ended up being very, very, very frustrating. The second part of the event, we have the reverse trade show in the morning. And then the second part was the actual marketplace or the exhibition hall where you could go around to each of the different vendors and then have your breakout sessions of the educational portion, which honestly was kind of cool. I really enjoyed the headphones that they provided and how we could all be in this giant space and still hear the presentation that we're supposed to be watching. But also it was great because the hotel was freaking huge, and I don't know if I could have found the educational like sessions any other way other than to have it in one spot. I got lost, y'all. I got lost in this hotel, and I probably wouldn't host a retreat there. What was great again about the marketplace setup is that there's educational sessions that had a lot of the industry leaders talking about COVID, talking about the property, talking about safety. They didn't shy away from the hard things, and they didn't shy away from how difficult this year has been in the event and tourism space. Also, something I noticed in the marketplace is that sanitization and safety was huge throughout the event. Each of the vendors usually had hand sanitizer there and were giving away something safety related, whether it be a mask, hand sanitizer, alcohol wipes. There was seriously obvious theme of the event, safety first. So the third criteria, the third thing I want to touch upon, which one of the main reasons people go to marketplace is for the networking. And I was especially looking forward to meeting new people, understanding the limitations of that. I met like one new person, and it was because one of my friends knew her. That was nice, still meeting that one person. And unfortunately though, I was really hoping to connect with other planners like myself or other organizations that could use my services. That it just didn't happen this year, which it is what it is. So they could have done a better job. All in all, they could have done a better job. I kind of got the feeling that this entire event was kind of slapped together and to display a safe way to still gather in big quantities safely. That being said, I think that they did show that you can meet in large quantities. 700 people is nothing to scoff at in the middle of COVID. Ballsy, it's scary. I think because of that and because of the changing landscape throughout the year of the safety protocols that are needed in order to host events, and between the different cities and the states protocols, the federal protocols, and then trying to implement all of that in a changing environment, I think that they did a really good job. They, crossed all their T's, they dotted all their I's. They did a really good job. But at the cost or the expense of the experience. Ultimately though, I think that there's a lot that I can take away with and implement for coaches and entrepreneurs that are still looking to have in-person events. So what's that mean? That means we need to get planning in 2021. That means that small groups of people can get together. That means that there's ways to do this safely and growing from what we initially thought a retreat and event, in-person event looked like, and then exploring what it could look like sooner than later. If you have any questions for me about my experience at Connect, what Connect is, and then how you can use what Connect did in your future events, leave it in the comment below, subscribe to my channel, click the like button, do all the things. Until next week, I'll see you then.